Welcome to Blue Talks.
I want you to remember this quote. Only when the gain is greater than the pain will you push through your fears and make change happen and make it stick. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in so much pain in your life that you felt compelled to change your life for the better forever and you actually took the action to make it happen? Well, that's what I did. Multiple times I reinvented myself to become my best future self. And I'm going to be sharing with you today the journey I've been on, the transformations I've made, and how I did this step by step so you can do the same. So nowadays, I am a best-selling author, as you already heard, of Asexual Perspectives book, published under my own book publishing imprint of Quirky Books. And I help asexuals of love, life, confidence, dating and relationships, predominantly through my Asexualise, my Asexual Life YouTube channel, chat show and vlog, which is like a reality TV show. Asexuality is a sexual orientation that is the lack of sexual attraction. And what this means for me as a romantic asexual is I don't get the need, urge or want for partnered sexual intercourse. I do, however, still have attraction for guys romantically and aesthetically, just not sexually. I don't have those feelings. And I have been featured on the Jeremy Vine show. I've been featured on BBC Radio with Graham Torrington, on a number of podcasts, including Sense of Soul and Lifeology. Lifeology has over 3 million listeners per episode, which is really cool. And I've been, a published author for some time now. But it wasn't always like this. So from the age of 6, I was a depressed, suicidal mess with absolutely no purpose in my life. I was bullied in primary school and in secondary school even more so. And I hated myself, I hated my life, and I wanted my life to be over. I used to pray to God that he would take me, but he never did. At age 15, I had a failed suicide attempt. And after that, I did a day's work experience at a radio station. And I knew intuitively then that I was born for a very special purpose, and it was to do with the media, but I didn't know what that was doing at that time. So I decided to pursue a career in radio, and I changed myself to become more extroverted, loud, bubbly, and talkative to do this line of work. And for a while, I really enjoyed it. I did hospital radio presenting for years of my life, which was really good training for speaking. And in 2009, I was made redundant, and then I realised, no, you're not meant to be a radio presenter, you're meant to write books that change people's lives, from pain to gain. And so then I had my first article published in a magazine, which I was paid for, and I also wrote a book about redundancy to use that experience years later. Then, in 2010, I was diagnosed with generalised anxiety disorder. And I'd had anxiety since before I was born because I had pre-birth trauma. So I just stressed baby in the womb for absolutely hours. I was meant to be born on the 23rd of April. I was born on the 24th of April. And I had a 50% chance of survival. And so did my mother. And I was pulled out by metal forceps, either side of my head. So 2011 came and I was so scared to go on social media because of my generalised anxiety disorder. But I thought if I want to make a huge impact in the world, I'm going to have to do this. So I mustered up the courage to do it. And then the year after, I created my first Facebook profile, my original one that I've still got, and I put it on public bravely. And now I've got multiple Facebook pages. I've got 6 Facebook groups for asexuals that I run. And I also am known as a top social marketing voice on LinkedIn. And I'm all over social media and, of course, my YouTube channel, which I absolutely adore. I live stream there regularly. And so 2012 came. There's 2 things that happened during this year in 2012 that fundamentally changed my life. One was I diagnosed with a chronic pain condition called fibromyalgia, which affects the nerves and muscles of the body. And after taking 6 months to come to terms with the fact I have a disability for life, all of a sudden I stopped talking negatively to myself, like I'd done this since childhood. And I realised that emotional pain drives physical pain. And that if I was to continue to talk negatively to myself, then I would end up on crutches or in a wheelchair like so many other people with the condition. So I just stopped it there and then, and it was my disability of fibromyalgia that saved me from depression and became an asset to me. So 2012, later on that year, I saw Tony Robbins live on stage, and he was amazing. I went to a Success Resource event at the Excel Centre in London, and he taught us a number of things, and one of the things was the first thing he did is got us to get out of our comfort zone by going and hugging strangers around the room. And up until this point, I didn't like physical touch apart from by my past ex-boyfriends or certain occasions with my parents, like to hug them goodbye or for birthday present they might get me, stuff like that. So it was really weird for me to go around hugging people, and I just didn't even like a tap on the shoulder before. So I went from being like touch averse, if you like, with strangers to hugging this guy who was really big in body mass, and he was really tall with this bald head with a piece of flyaway hair. And I'm like, oh my God, he's not my aesthetic type, but if I can hug this guy and I put my arms right around him, I'm like, I can hug anyone. So yeah, that was the first thing. And then another thing Tony taught us is to change our state through movement and music. And I had this awakening to be my younger teenager self that I was always born to be. And so I'm like, yeah, this is amazing. I feel so good. And so then I decided to stop living by society's rules and to start living my rules of life, how I wanted to live. And so I then got rid of the idea that I was going to do housework ever for a guy. I'm like, I'm not cooking, cleaning, or doing housework because it doesn't make me happy. And I will live by my rules, and I will live my teenager self life, not my birth certificate age life, which I've been doing ever since. And so no longer do I do any of the adult stuff like that. So another thing that happened during that seminar is that Tony speaking and other speakers that day made me realise of all the special qualities, skills and knowledge and experience I have to offer the world. And before then I felt worthless and useless because although I overcome depression, I hadn't got self-love. So this was the start of my self-love journey. And so it's entrepreneurship that changed my life from self-loathing to self-loving. And I always say now as one of my mottos that do it for the journey, because it's a journey of entrepreneurship that truly changes your life. Fast forward to 2014 now, and I'm in a counsellor's office, an NHS professionally trained counsellor's office. And I went to her because I like relationships in terms of romance and kissing, but I didn't want sex. And I gone to her with this problem because I wanted to still date, but when I was dating heterosexual guys, this expectation of sex at the end of the night was making me almost wet myself. It was that bad. And I'm like, I don't know what to do, because I really didn't want to be on my own, because I'm hugely romantic, hyper-romantic in fact. And she said the worst thing she could possibly have said. She said, you're going to have sex if you want to keep a good guy. And I was horrified. I'm like, how can any guy be good for me if he's expecting me to do something I don't want to do to get love? You know, it's like, you've got to give me sex and that's the only way I'll love you, which sends a damaging message to the complete whole of society, you know? So I was absolutely in shock. And for me, if you're saying I have to get love by doing something I don't want to do, like sex, it's like giving a guy a license to rape me, and that's just not on. So I went home and Googled, I love kissing and not sex. And then it came up with Asexuality.org, which is the biggest online forum for asexuals. And there was thousands of people like who'd been underground. I'm like, where have you been all my life? And they wanted a romantic relationship without sex like me. Not every asexual is romantic though. And I'm like, this is incredible. And this was a huge catalyst for more reinventions in my life. So January 2015 came, and I had social anxiety for years, and I wasn't good in groups. I only usually like to meet up with people on a one-to-one basis. So I took on the role of organising and hosting asexual meetups in my city, which is a group activity that I lead, and I've been doing that ever since. And then also in 2015, which is when I started my Asexualise, my Asexual Life channel, which was October 2015. Now, in order to do this channel, I need to be able to talk about sex. And at this point in my life, I was so shy about it. I couldn't talk about it with anyone, apart from my past 6 boyfriends when I was in a relationship with them. Not a girlfriend, no one. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to talk about this. And so I did it bravely. I'm like, you've got to push yourself, because if you want to leave a lasting legacy and make an impact on the world, you've got to do this. So then I started talking about sex, which I was really like shy and going pink at first. And then now I talk about sex and masturbation like I'm drinking water. So it's like, it's like, yeah, have a cup of coffee and talk about sex. So anyway, so then we go on to 2017, and that's when I published my Asexual Perspectives 47 Asexual Stories book, which is now a bestseller. And I became a book publishing imprint in my own right, registered publisher in the UK, which was a dream for 7 years. And so I was so happy to achieve that. And then we go to 2018, when I was a speaker at the UK Asexuality conference in London. And yes, I have generalised anxiety disorder, so that was difficult for me to do, but I did it and it was really good. And it also launched Asexualise Academy as well. And so over the years, I have gone from self-loathing to self-loving. I used to want to kill myself, and now I love my life. And I also reprogrammed my mind to be like 21 years old using NLP, as well as being happy to be single, because years ago I was codependent and I couldn't be on my own. So NLP I learned because I did a coaching academy course. And this was just incredible. And so that was like a major shift for me. And then, you know, I've gone through like huge transformations. And then in 2019, I published my Fibromyalgia self-help handbook. So during this time, I'd learned how to be the superhero of my own life, to raise my energy, decrease my pain, and live a happier life. And in the Fibromyalgia self-help handbook, I put all the information of how I do this. And it tells you how to decrease pain in 25 aspects of your life, which most apply to people's lives, even if they don't have fibro. So it's like a personal development book in disguise. So, so basically now I'm at the stage where I'm under a new life reinvention when I joined Corrie's Blue Talk speaking program to be a public speaker. And obviously with generalised anxiety disorder, that's quite difficult for me. So I'm going through the process that I created years ago in order to achieve all these reinventions, and I want to talk you through that process, the formula, so that you can take it away with you, so that you have a way forward that you can reinvent yourself to become your best future self. So the first step is to be aware of the problem, and you need to ask yourself, like, what is the problem and why, and how am I going to solve it? Then the second step is you have to come up with the solution, which is the outcome or end goal that you want. So instead of focusing on the problem, you actually focus on the end goal, the result you want. And usually it's being or doing something that's the opposite of who you are and what you're doing. And then you have to create goals around that solution. So you have to reverse engineer the solution, and then you have to create goals based on the steps it will take you to get to that solution. If, for example, you want to create a different personality, you want to change your personality characteristics, you need to look for the characteristics of the person you want to become. So how do they dress? What do they wear? How do they speak? This type of thing. So you don't model the person, you model the characteristics of who you want to be. And then you need to create goals, actionable goals, based on those steps that will lead you to the solution. And you must take action. Don't just not do anything. And then you've got to be determined to succeed and say no to other people's agendas, because there'll be people that try to throw you off your dream and of course. And if you get caught up in that, you'll miss your own dream. And we're here to live our lives, not other people's. And then you need to take responsibility for your own life and say that you can do this, and make sure it's you that's doing it. You're not expecting everyone else to do it for you. And also, you then need to develop a fearless mindset. And the way you do this is by realising there are no failures in life, just lessons we learn from. So therefore, you can never fail. And that'll make you less scared to do things. So this is really good. And you can believe in your ability to work things out and look for evidence of when you've achieved things in difficult times before, so you can say, oh, I've done that before, so I know I can do it again. It's not the same thing, but you know you've overcome hardships and difficulties, so you know you're able to do that again. And then once you've been determined, been focused, and focus on your end goal, don't let anyone put you off, and you know why you've done it, because once your why is big enough, then you'll do it, and then you repeat the process over again once you've got your solution. And the final step is to thank yourself for doing this and tell yourself you love yourself, and thank yourself for making change happen for you rather than it happening to you. Because when you make change happen for you rather than it happening to you, you are the captain of your own life ship and you can sail it in whatever direction you want, giving you a life of love, fulfillment, happiness and true success, which is what I wish for you. And what I'd like you to do today is I'd like you to think of one thing that you personally want to change your life, to reinvent yourself, to become your best future self. And this thing you want to do in the next 6 months. And so I want you to take this formula that I've given you today, start today, not tomorrow, because our minds will make us procrastinate, so today, and I want you to pursue the thing you want to reinvent your life, go through all the steps, and in 6 months' time, I want you to email me, sandrabellamygroup@gmail.com, to tell me how your life has transformed once you've got this solution and you've reinvented yourself to become your best future self. And I'd like to let you know that I believe in you, you've got this, you can truly do this, and I'm sending you so much love. Thank you. Thank you.